Hi all, I'm Professor Luce and we're going to talk about the annual bag speech as well as some related assignments. So you do have access to the assignment sheet. It's on D12, has been since the beginning of the semester, and it's going to be under the content section, and you scroll down and you'll see speech assignments, and that's where all the speech assignments are. Not only do you have the assignment sheet itself, but also you have the grading rubric for every speech. It's already up, so you have access to those at any point you want. So I'm not going to cover everything because you can read, but I do want to highlight a couple of things. It's worth 50 points. There are some basic instructions as well as some examples within the assignment, but basically you need to discuss 4 items that are a starting point for telling us about yourself. They need to be very distinct from each other. So one item would be about your past, one item would be about your present, one item would be about your future, and then one item is predetermined to an extent. It needs to be a bag, but that bag can be a variety of things. It can be a box if you want it to be, and that needs to represent a time frame in your life, but that could span over more than one time frame. So if it represents your present and your future, that's perfectly fine. If it represents all 3, that's fine. If it just represents one, that's fine too. There are lots of things that are important, but if you look from a grading perspective, the 4 most important things that will make up 40% of your grade are the attention-getting device, the preview, the review, and the concluding device. Those items count for 20 points out of 50, which is 40% of your overall grade. Realize that just because you have one of those items there doesn't mean it's good. Imagine you go to a restaurant and they put food in front of you, like they gave you food, and it doesn't mean it's going to be good. The same is true when it comes to attention getters, previews, reviews, and concluding devices. You may have a question, but it may not be a very good one. So yes, you had an attention getting device, but it wasn't A level. As an example, something you shouldn't do, some people in the past have done an attention getter for a question. They've said, imagine you have to pick a bag and 3 items. What items would you pick to represent your life? Well, that's not a very intriguing question because we all know you're doing this assignment, so you've already thought about it. And even outside of this, it's not exactly the most intriguing question. So you got to be a little bit more creative than that in order to get an A on the attention-getting device. The preview needs to be explicit. I provide a news announcement that talks about a checklist, and that checklist is very thorough for a reason. It's meant to help you to get an A on the speech if that's what you want. So for the preview, you need to identify the items and also identify the time frame. So I'm going to use an example. I'm just going to make it up as I go. But if it was me giving the speech, I might say something for the preview like, so today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me. To do that, I'm first going to show you this picture of me and my grandpa fishing that represents my past. For my present, I'm going to show you a picture of a chicken. For the future, I'm going to give you my CCU ID badge, and then for my bag, I have my karate bag, and that's going to represent my past. So you see I've talked about all 4 items. I was very specific in what they were, and then I also talked about what time frame they belong to. The review statement is going to be very, very similar, except you change I'm going to talk about to I talked about. So you could say something like, so today, I've first shown you the picture of me and my grandpa fishing that represented my past. For my present, I showed you a picture of my chickens. For my future, I showed you my CCU ID badge. And for my bag, I showed you my karate bag, which represented my past. Really simple to get the preview and the review right. And then your concluding device, you have lots of options. I personally like quotations. So for the introduction, for the attention getter, I might pick a quotation about fishing, right? Because that's a big part of my life. And then maybe for my concluding device, I might pick something about real estate because that's how my CCU ID would tie into that. So there's lots of options available to you, but those are really where a lot of points are. Not saying delivery doesn't matter, it does, but it's not going to be a whole lot of points. It's only 10 out of the 50 points. That's intentional. This first speech is meant to be able to get you to understand structure And then once you get the structure, then we can start to work on some of these other things. Outside of the classroom environment, yeah, of course delivery matters. It matters a lot. But we start slow, and that's why it's only counting for 10 points out of the 50. As far as time goes, it's a 2 to 3 minute time frame. And the way I do time is that 2 to 3 minutes means you don't get any points deducted. If it's under 2 minutes, you get points deducted. If it's over 3 minutes, you get points deducted up to 3:30. At 3:30, I stop evaluating your speech. So if you only got to the first main point at 3:30, you wouldn't get any credit for the second main point, the third main point, the fourth main point, or the concluding device. This came out of several years ago. In fact, over a decade now. I had a student that for a 5-minute speech spoke for over 25 minutes. And I used to deduct 2 points for every 30 seconds. Well, at that rate, he would have had negative points. And that's not fair to get up and give a speech and get a negative 10 out of 100. That doesn't make any sense. So I had to reformulate the strategy. So in your YouTube videos, I realize it may take you a few seconds. You may hit record and then have to back up. You may take a breath, etc. I only look at the time that you actually start speaking, and that's when I go from. So you get a little bit of leeway, but really I'll be able to look at the YouTube video that you post and figure out very quickly what your actual time is. And if I look at the YouTube video and it's 20 minutes, that's definitely not what you want. So you want to make sure that you stay within time. That's pretty much it for the speech itself. Now there are some tangential assignments that I do want you to be aware of. As with the topic quiz assignment, you will see a news announcement that tells you how to view the feedback. It is essential that you view that feedback. Your score does not represent whether or not your topic is acceptable. You have to read the feedback. You need to remember how to access these instructions because it's going to be the same throughout the rest of the semester. So you have to read the feedback. If you don't read the feedback and I say something like, this isn't going to work, and then you go forward with it anyways, that's on you. So you have to make sure you read the feedback. You do not need to resubmit the assignment sheet. That's not really an option. The grade is whether or not you answered the question. The feedback is whether or not you answered the question for your topic correctly. Meaning, did you pick 4 objects in this case that fit the assignment, that sound like it's going to work for the assignment sheet overall. So you have to read the feedback and then recognize that your score doesn't reflect that necessarily. After you do that, let's say I give you feedback saying one object wouldn't work. What you should do is either email me or talk via Microsoft Teams or the Remind app and make sure you're on the right track. So there's nothing that you have to resubmit at that point in a formal way via a graded assignment. It's all going to be more informal, like email, if you talk to me on the phone, via the Remind app, via Teams meetings, etc. But you still need to get approval for making those changes before moving forward. If you don't, that's on you. And as you'll see with the informative and persuasive speech assignments, there's going to be a follow-up assignment where if you don't get that approval, it then does affect another quiz that's coming down the line, the secondary quiz. So you want to make sure that you read the feedback as soon as you can, and then you want to get back with me if you need to make any changes. For the peer evaluation, for the any old bag speech, you'll see that will open up, and your speech will be due on a Thursday, and then your feedback is due to your peers by Monday. It's in one discussion forum, and I can't set 2 different deadlines. It just doesn't let me do it. The system doesn't allow me to. So I will have to go back and look and see what day you submitted your video, as well as your peer feedback. The instructions, the more detailed instructions, are in the discussion forum. Go to the discussion forum and make sure you read the requirements for what you need to do. There's a broad discussion forum labeled peer evaluation, and then there's a specific one for this specific assignment that's the any old bag speech peer evaluation. Read both, please. Okay, it's critical that you understand the instructions. It's due on Thursday because I have to give your classmates time to be able to give you feedback. If I didn't set that deadline for Thursday, Most people will wait until Monday to submit it, which means nobody else has time to be able to give you a whole lot of feedback, and that's not fair to everyone else. So you must submit your speech by Thursday. You must submit your peer evaluation feedback by the following Monday. If you miss one or both of those deadlines, you will not get any credit for the assignment. It's an all or nothing. You don't get partial credit just by giving peers feedback. You have to meet the assignment deadline. Make sure you give yourself enough time to upload the speech to YouTube. We all know that sometimes YouTube takes a while to upload speeches, so make sure that you have enough time to be able to do that. As far as the video itself, it's a dress rehearsal. Most people know what that means. If you don't, you can always Google it. But basically, it's a practice. It's meant to imitate the real thing. So it has to be a real speech. You can't get up there and say, well, I'm not sure what two of my objects are going to be. I'm thinking of some different things. What do you all think? That's not a speech. It actually has to have all of your objects. It needs to have an introduction, body, conclusion. You want to treat it like the final version. The dress rehearsal, the purpose of it is you get that feedback and then you can make any necessary changes before the final version is due next week. So it's your opportunity to get really good feedback and to get practice doing all these things like recording yourself, having gestures, seeing what kinds of things you see on your video after you record it. All right, that's about it for the annual bag speech assignment. I'm looking forward to these speeches. It's an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, and I think your classmates will really enjoy it. Thank you.